Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of May 30th through June 5th, and also going to do the month of June. And it's interesting because there's really not too much going on in June, and really not too much going on this week. But out of the few things I wanted to mention in June, two of them happen to be two of the three main events this week. So this is kind of like almost like a compressed version of the Astrological Winds channel, where I can get not only the monthly but the weekly done in a lot less time than normal, because it's just not as active as a month nor a week. And first, some business to take care of. People have reminded me of this several times, that they don't make it to the end of the blog. The best way to get in contact with me, matthue823@gmail.com. For any reason, readings, any kind of astrology type things. Once again, email is matthue823@gmail.com. And this is a free service. The best way you can pay me back is to please pass it on to somebody else you know who might be interested in it. It's so helpful to me. If you want to give a donation, I won't say no to that, but literally that is the best way you can help repay me for this service, is just pass it on. And if you need a reading, I've been doing astrology readings professionally for 20 years, lots of profound experiences. So just drop me an email and we can set that up, all kinds of readings. And and I'll go over that information in a little more detail, but the channel is available on YouTube every week. If you have a YouTube account, become a follower, turn your notifications on. Also available through Buzzsprout, multiple podcasts. Just look up Astrological Winds channel, or go to Instagram and look up Astrological Winds channel and become a follower there. And sometimes I do give daily updates too during the week on Instagram that are not in video or audio format, but just a blurb in the comments section. So kind of fun stuff there. So, okay, and I wanted to get this done a little early this week again, because the big event of the week is on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, since it's Sunday evening right now, or this morning if you're watching it on Monday. So we have a new moon this week in Gemini, and it's at around 9-10 degrees. It's in the 10th degree, but right around 9 degrees. And interestingly enough, there's no other aspects to any other planet that are within orb to the moon. So this is like a really pure new moon in Gemini. But what is the ruler of this new moon is Mercury. And we all know, or most of us know, who follow the channel anyway, that Mercury is retrograde right now. So it's not gonna be the easiest, quickest new moon energy to work with. Therefore, Mercury's gonna put a little bit of the brakes on that, so to speak. But anyway, when you think about the moon in Gemini, what this new moon is all about is getting more information, getting the having information flowing to us through all kinds of different channels, communications, all travel, or exposure to different things in your local area, educating ourselves, anything that falls under that broad umbrella of information. That's what this new moon is all about. And you want to look in your chart where 9 degrees of Gemini is, and that will tell you the house that is in your natal chart will tell you the part of your life where a lot of this new information is going to be coming in. So it's like, and not only does the Gemini moon want that information, but it also wants to process it. Gemini is also about talking it over, like processing it first in our minds, and it's in particular during Mercury retrograde, maybe even more so in our minds. But Gemini does have this need to communicate what it's learning about, and at times, it has a very curious mind, and a tricky mind at times, but can also jump from one thing to another really quickly, So lots of ideas come to us that get us very curious, but then we're easily distracted into other things. But the thing that's giving us comfort, the thing that's giving us security and good feelings during this new moon is just that flow of information. And like I said, it's not being stained by any other, I don't know, stained is a kind of an odd word, but it's not being influenced by any other aspects to any other planet. So it's a very pure Gemini moon. So the ruler is Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde, and started its retrograde journey actually in Gemini, the sign that it rules, but is at this point backtracked out to late Taurus, around the 27, 28 degree area. And what's really interesting about that is that is conjunct the lunar eclipse point of 2 weeks ago. That eclipse that a lot of us got to see at night, the eclipse when we had the full moon in Scorpio at 25, 26 degrees Scorpio. So Mercury is right on that point pretty much, and is the ruler of this chart. So I think it's going back and bringing that energy up from that eclipse again. And, we know Mercury retrograde has a tendency to slow things down, delay things. A lot of that has to do with having to mull things over inside first. So I think a lot of this new moon is going to be, that's where the start will be, is be getting this information inside and having to process that mainly ourselves rather than bringing it out into the world like Gemini usually likes to do, especially when you consider it's going back to that eclipse point, and that eclipse had the square to Saturn, the really tight square to Saturn. And in the meantime, Mercury retrograde is also, once it went back into Taurus, really reactivated that trine to Pluto, which also just turned retrograde. So all this stuff is it's all about the inner kind of journey first, that trying to straighten out where all this information we're getting through the Gemini new moon fits within ourselves and our psyche, and seeing that in other people. It's interesting, it's also sextiling Neptune still. So there are, from what we see in our psyche, and what we're learning from other people too, and what we see in them, and what we're learning from any of the information that we're getting in. I mean, that's how we learn so much, is from other people, not just what we're getting ourselves, but a lot of our mental stimulation comes from the people that we meet. So all that stuff, once again, once we process it inside, I think what's going to happen is, we have the sextile to Neptune too. We're going to see inside still, because it is a yin sextile, that there are some opportunities that we might be able to get some of our ideals going once this retrograde period ends. It's very interesting too. Remember what I said 2 weeks ago during the lunar eclipse, that it was in a fixed sign, and it was 5 degrees from the next sign, and that we probably wouldn't see a lot of the things of that lunar eclipse possibly come to fruition for 5 months. And I think, all this stuff also is showing that, there's 5 degrees to go. Is that, not only that, but the moon's next aspect, even though it's not making any exact aspects, is a square to Neptune at 25 degrees. So there's that 5 degrees to the end of the sign again. And Saturn is going retrograde this week too. And that's about 4.5 months of that too. So it's almost like having to restructure our structures in order to move forward on the information that we're seeing under this new moon. So it's going to start very internally. So that's already a slow start, and then all these other things, it's going to trigger us looking at our psyche. It's going to trigger us having to restructure things first, and then maybe we can inject some of our ideals into it. But I think what we're really looking at is that, any ideas we're getting now is, we're not once again going to see the fruition of a lot of them until several months from now, 5 months off or something like that. So it's real. So it's an interesting new moon, because despite its purity, which would normally give it this really great chance to start new things and start seeing sprouts come out of the ground right away, within days or something. Instead, it's going, take time to develop and still go through some of this inner change first before anything that's sparking us into new directions right now, which is mainly going to be information that we're in, education that we're getting, will bring change, but not for several months. So very interesting there. Now, like I said, there's 2 other events this week that tie into 2 of the biggest events of the month. This month, there's really not a lot going on in June, but there are 3 planets that are changing signs. And one of them is Mercury, which is at the end of this week on Friday, Saturday. Mercury will be going direct at about 27 degrees Taurus again. So it'll start to pick up speed, and then by June 9th, is it? June 9th, I believe it is. It will go back into, on the 13th, actually, it will go back into Gemini. So it'll go back into Gemini, the sign it rules, and by then, starting to come out of the shadow, starting to speed up, and we're going to see that Mercury start to become a lot more efficient in collecting that info and then being able to bring it out into the world. That's when you'll be able to start planting some of those seeds into the ground at that point. But yeah, and then it won't be until the 19th of the month that Mercury will hit the 5-degree Gemini point where it actually turned direct. And at that point, it'll be full steam ahead moving forward. So really, Gemini will be enjoying Mercury will be enjoying itself in Gemini most of this month. But the very next day that, the cosmic joke's on us, the very next day that on Saturday, Saturn turns retrograde. So that's actually the second big event of the month, the third big event of this week. And that is a 4.5 month thing. So still in Aquarius, still in a sign that it rules, still in a sign where it knows that the system it's running under needs an upgrade. But now it's going to go into retrograde motion again. So it's really, once again, going to have to maybe deconstruct some of these structures in our lives, and maybe we're going to go through some instability during this period. Saturn is a social planet, so there could be a lot of social instability, and then to top that off, it never gets exact again. But like I told you in the beginning of the year, the biggest aspect this year is the same one as last year, the Saturn square Uranus. Well, they've been moving apart for a while, and now with Saturn turning retrograde and Uranus is still going direct for a few months, they're going to get really close together in the fall again, less than 1 degree. So once again, just like the Saturn in Aquarius, and Uranus, of course, also very Aquarian in nature, this is a time where like a lot of the old structures in our lives and in society are probably going to continue to fail and crack and show signs that they have gone beyond their normal ability to serve us well, and that the Aquarian upload, the higher octave of Saturn and Uranus's energy, has to be brought in to bring change. But this is going to give us 4.5 months to really see inside ourselves, like what in our lives, what structures need to change. And then of course, like I said, it's a societal planet. So we're going to get a lot of backlash of structures that are, failing us in the current world, that are no longer working in these times. So very, very interesting. So yeah, that square to Saturn is going to start tightening up this month. Now, the last two things I want to mention are the last two things of the month. And one of them is on June 22nd, Chiron is going to square Ceres. And once again, this shows, Ceres has really received a lot of transits in the past couple of years, that while a lot of these resource issues have sprung up, not having enough in the supply chain, or supply chain interruptions, or interruptions based on other events that are both man-made and natural. So here, Chiron square Ceres, we know what this is, basically is saying is we are getting wounded. We are self-inflicting as a race, as a species, wounds upon ourselves and our ability to take care of ourselves well with the resources that we need. And so I would think the Chiron square Ceres is going to be a continuation of these issues of supply chain problems, inflation, economic issues that are hurting us, that are hurting the things that we need. That's Ceres, the things we need, the things that nurture us. Food prices, energy, things like that. Some things that are very, very basic, are being affected. So this is another thing exact this month. So I think, it's going to be with all this other mixed up energy, we're going to see a lot of, not a lot of headway in those areas either, unfortunately. And at the very end of the month, June 28th, Neptune joins the retrograde planets, which is right now Pluto, which at that point will be Pluto and Saturn. But Neptune is going to join that party, and that will be 5 months of Neptune going in reverse, and 5 months of us having to look at our ideals and things that inspire us and ask, how are they fitting or not fitting in the world, and what can be done or not done about that? Do we need to be more realistic about what they are, or do we need to live up to them more ourselves first before they can be brought out into the world? So it's going to be like that inner questioning of our ideals, our beliefs, our spirituality, our religion, our creativity, the things that, we value on abstract levels, that we see maybe failing us and maybe disappointing us in reality, especially with both Saturn and Neptune at that point will both be retrograde. And then the Pluto retrograde will help us really delve into what that means to us deeply in our psyche. All right, well, like I said, not a real lot going on in June. The 3 planets changing direction, the Chiron square Ceres, and then the Saturn starting to tighten the square with Uranus again until it reaches a very tight position in the fall again. So yeah, and then this week, the new moon, Monday, and then on the weekend, those 2 change direction. Friday, Mercury going direct. Saturday, Saturn going retrograde. All right, I'm Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is a free service, and I really would appreciate it if, like, as soon as you're done, could you please pass it on to somebody else, the link. That is the best way you can pay me. Now, if you want to give me a donation, no donation is too small. People do that, and I really do appreciate it. I am on Venmo. My handle is at Matthew-Lawton, Lauten. You can also look me up on Zelle or PayPal, and readings. If you need a reading, I have been doing readings professionally for 20 years. Natal charts. Know what the subpersonalities and models that are working in your life are. How are you going to ever have a good life if you don't know and you're not aware of some of the energy working behind you? And then getting a predictive reading every year around your birthday so that you get your own weather forecast, so you know how the planets are affecting you this year and where to focus your energy so that it is working best for you, so that you're not scattering it out. And if you have relationship chart or issues, you want to do relationship charts, you're in a new relationship, things like that. Children's charts. If you have an election question where you're looking for the best timing of an event, like to start a business or to get married or something, do charts like that. People have been asking me a lot lately about relocation and astrolocality. We can take a look at that too, in either general or specific ways for you. Horary questions. If you really have some question you can't get an answer to, there's a lot of emotion involved. Sometimes we can find an answer for you in a horary chart too. And then fixed star readings are also available for people looking, at their deeper soul purpose. That's kind of cool stuff. So all kinds of different readings. If you have specific questions about different things, if you want even monthly or weekly transit site, we can set up service to do that too. I also have classes available. There's 5 beginners classes. They're available on Dropbox. You pay me $25 or $20 if you're a student with an ID, and you get access to the classes. Anyone who gets through the 5th class, I will keep working on them. If you have a group or some kind of event where you'd like a speaker or an astrologer there, I'm also available for that kind of stuff. So it's MATTHUE823@gmail.com. And remember, if you get on YouTube and stuff too, and you have an account, or you can leave me messages on the message board too. MATTHUE823@gmail.com. Look up Astrological Winds channel on YouTube or any of your podcasts. You can't find it on one podcast, try another. Or you can also look me up on Instagram, become a follower there. Or if you want a private, my Facebook is private, but if you want to look me up, Matthew Lawton, Lauten, ask me for a friend request. I do post the link there every week. All right, that's going to do it for this week. I'll see y'all next week. We'll probably have a little bit of a busier week than I would imagine that this week is. But this, like I said, this is really a good week to make the starts in that Gemini zone and that information coming in. But make it inside first, and do that first, and then you are moving forward, really. So until next week, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel.